I did, almost 15 years ago, and it still has stuck with me to realize the power of providing those opportunities for kids.
Welcome to the Hack Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Barnes, providing right now solutions to some of your biggest teaching and learning problems. Now, let's hack learning. You heard from Alabama principal Jennifer Hogan, co-founder of USEdChat and Lead Learning, a global education consulting company. And what exactly is the power Jennifer Hogan spoke of in our open? It sounded really exciting. Well, it's the power of the back channel for teaching and learning. And what's great about Jennifer Hogan is, and what makes her unique, is that she has been using the back channel, a place that you can send people to communicate digitally for about 15 or 20 years, which is incredible when you think that if you asked someone 15 years ago about the back channel, they would have said, I have no idea what that is. But Jennifer Hogan was using it for teaching and learning.
My personal experience with back channels and education, and actually it is from about, probably 15 or more years ago, and that was before social media in terms of Web 2.0 and that kind of thing. You know, AOL was the big internet provider, and so I did an online study session in an AOL chat room. And so I would give them the name of the chat room, tell them that if they didn't have AOL, that they could go to a friend's house, go to a grandparent's house, go to the library, and I would give them the name of the AOL chat room. And so when they joined, they had, you could come up with like a nickname for yourself. And I said, if you join and you have a nickname that I don't recognize, I will ask you, kind of behind the scenes or in a private message or whatever, I want to know your name because I want to make sure that it's just my science students in the chat room. I would tell them what time to meet me, and for an hour we would do like a review session. I would ask questions, they would kind of answer, game show style. The neat thing about that is that's when I realized that reluctant learners, reluctant participants, would join in. And I still remember one cool experience where this one kid who never talked in class was participating, and he knew all the answers. The other kids were like, who's that guy? Who's that person? They're so smart, and they just had all these really cool things to say about this kid who didn't participate in class and didn't get that affirmation in the classroom. And so while it's not, the back channel as we know it today, it is something that I did, almost 15 years ago, and it still has stuck with me to realize the power of providing those opportunities for kids when it's not having to raise your hand and speak in front of a group.
When you think about it, Jennifer Hogan was hacking digital learning long before people were really thinking very much about education technology, which is such an important topic today and one that you can read about and listen to podcasts about pretty much every day. And what Hogan did was unique and inspirational. She saw the need for kids to communicate, even shy kids, reluctant learners, to communicate what they knew. Her story about the student who was smart, but very few kids really even knew that the student was smart because he didn't say very much. He was shy. He didn't want to talk. He didn't want to let everyone know what he knew. But when he had a chance to use a back channel, that place where he's not in front of an audience, where he's maybe in the privacy of his home or at a library, online in the old AOL chat room, and he is discussing learning and sharing things that his peers had never really seen him share. And that is truly powerful. As a school leader, Jennifer Hogan has empowered her educators to embrace the modern back channel. Using tools like Twitter and Today's Meet and other social networks, I spoke to her about this power, using back channels for teaching and learning in the classroom today, and she gave me two excellent examples that I'd like to share with you.
I'll share two examples of back channels that I've seen used in the classroom. In one classroom, a teacher gave a reading assignment for homework, and when the students came to class the next day, the teacher had a screen up and told the students that his room number was the hashtag. He had Twitter up on the screen and asked the students to tweet how the music and lyrics connected to the reading assignment. and he used their tweets during the class period to drive the lesson that day and the discussion that day. In another teacher's classroom, I observed an inclusion class with a teacher and a co-teacher. And the teacher divided up the class into two groups. She arranged her desks into two rows that were in semicircles, one behind the other. And so she created a room in today's meet and projected it up on the screen. And for the first half of class, she had a face-to-face conversation with the front row only. The students in the second row could only participate by posting in today's meet. The co-teacher was behind the second row and could assist students who needed help. And then halfway through the period, the group switched places. And the conversation was so rich that day, and she had excellent participation from students because they could participate in two ways. So even our reluctant participators did a great job of jumping in and making their voice heard.
You've heard Jennifer Hogan talk about her fascinating story of almost creating the back channel before the back channel existed so many years ago in that AOL chat room, and then share two excellent examples of modern teachers using Twitter, using today's Meet, getting kids engaged in really creative ways. You know, they're not just jumping on Twitter and sending tweets and saying hello to each other. They're actually taking what's being taught in class and they're giving it back to the teacher in unique ways that we don't see very often. You may be listening to this and saying, it sounds fantastic, and boy, I'd really love to do it, but I don't know that much about it other than what I've heard here. There's not a ton of detail on the back channel, how to use it, what steps to take in the classroom. So where do you go if you want to learn more about the back channel? Listen to what Jennifer Hogan says.
If you've got a question or are facing a new situation, chances are that there's someone on Twitter who's been through that experience and would be glad to share his or her insights. You know, innovation, problem solving, and learning usually don't happen in isolation. All three of these are nourished on Twitter.
So where do you go if you want to learn more about the back channel? Well, Jennifer Hogan says it. You go to a back channel. Go to Twitter, where there are incredible conversations going on every day. You can search for a hashtag. We recently hacked the hashtag on Twitter with some amazing Twitter gurus, and you can find that episode about the hashtag on our show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. And you can see all of the places to go to contact Jennifer Hogan, to read more of her work, to follow her on Twitter. What better way to ask a question, to follow up on a show like this, than by going and asking the actual person? And if you tweet to Jennifer Hogan, and you can find her Twitter handle at hacklearningpodcast.com, she will respond. I guarantee it, because she loves to help teachers get better. This episode of the Hack Learning Podcast is brought to you by Audible. Check out Audible today and browse over 180,000 audiobooks, and you can get Audible and an audiobook for free today because you're a Hack Learning listener. Visit audible.com/hacklearning. As always, we continue the conversation at #HackLearning on Twitter and on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.